vielleicht nur als Imposant.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching the latest coming in from around the world here on Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top story tonight on Gravitas is about Iran nuclear facilities on target with far-reaching implications for the entire region and beyond. Who is capitalizing on Iran's seemingly weaker position than it has been in decades? What do these developments mean for the region? On Gravitas tonight, we decode the many layers to this story and get you the bigger picture. Here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you how Iran is recruiting Israelis as spies. This is a story you do not want to miss. We tell you all about the arrest of actor Allu Arjun and all that you need to know. Mysterious drones continue to haunt America. We get you the latest and the reactions. All this and much more coming up. Our top story tonight on Gravitas is about US President-elect Donald Trump and Israel targeting weakened Iran nuclear facilities. The war that has impacted Palestine, Lebanon, Israel, Syria is set to expand into Iran. Turns out the secret planning for such an assault is apparently no longer much of a secret. The two allies are reportedly ready to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, believing Iran's regional position is weaker than it has been in decades. You see, its key ally, Bashar al-Assad, is no longer in power in Syria. Its other major ally, Hezbollah, has been pushed into a corner by the punishing Israeli offensive. The big question is, will Iran take such an attack meekly? Are these facilities as vulnerable as its enemies believe them to be? You see, Iran has been attacked before, so we can assume that its facilities were a target as well. In fact, there are reports that over the last year, Iran has reinforced its facilities and taken them to deeper underground locations. There is the other life and death question as well. Could a successful attack on Iran's nuclear facilities lead to the havoc of nuclear radiation in the entire region? Experts recall the fallout of Chernobyl, a nuclear disaster that occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the then Soviet Union in April 1986. Nuclear debris was discovered 1,000 miles away. Winds carried it as far as Sweden, located more than 1,100 kilometers away. Could nuclear debris reach Israel if the winds turn in that direction? But those doing the calculations seem to have analyzed the risks and decided that the risks are worth taking. According to a report by the Times of Israel, Israel, emboldened by its recent military successes in Syria and the weakening of Hezbollah, believes it has an opportunity to strike Iran's nuclear program. Simultaneously, a report by the Wall Street Journal stating that the United States President-elect Donald Trump is exploring military options to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. However, Trump is not president for another 5 weeks at least. So the question is, can Israel act independently? According to the WSJ report, Iran has a stock of enriched uranium capable of building 4 nuclear bombs. 4 nuclear bombs, reportedly making it the only non-nuclear weapon country to be producing 60% near-weapon-grade fissile material. And this, you see, is a key point to this narrative. The report adding that it would take Iran just a few days to convert that stockpile into a nuclear weapon. According to an IDF statement, Israel has achieved, quote-unquote, total air superiority over Syrian airspace and has systematically dismantled Syrian air defenses. And this has reportedly opened a clear path for Israel to carry out long-range strikes, including deep into Iranian territory. As per the report, such freedom enhances their ability to surveil and, if necessary, strike Iran's fortified nuclear facilities. But you see, there is a problem with this. To reach Iran, IDF may have to fly over Iraq and Saudi Arabia to reach Iran. In a video address directed to Iran, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that strikes against Iran and its allies have triggered a quote-unquote regional chain reaction. Listen to this.
The historic events we witness today are a chain reaction to the pounding of Hamas, the decimation of Hezbollah, the targeting of Nasrallah, the blows we delivered to the Iran regime's axis of terror. And all this came, as President Trump pointed out this week, because of Israel and its fighting success.
Now, across the Atlantic, the U.S. is also rethinking its strategy on Iran. According to the WSJ report, Trump's team has revisited the idea of military action against Iran's nuclear program. Reportedly, this discussion has gained urgency because of Iran's weakened position in West Asia and due to reports of a surge in Iran's nuclear program. Trump's team is reportedly considering 2 strategies against Iran. First, it aims to exert maximum military pressure by sending more U.S. forces, warplanes and ships to West Asia, while simultaneously augmenting Israel's capabilities by providing advanced weapons, including bunker-busting bombs, which reportedly could significantly enhance Israel's ability to target Iran's deeply buried nuclear facilities. Iran's nuclear program, you see, is spread over 5 locations: Fordo, Khandaq, Natanz, Isfahan and Bushehr. 2 sites are undisclosed. The threat of Israeli airstrikes has loomed for decades. Only some of the sites have been built underground. So the threat of military force combined with US-imposed sanctions could cripple Iran's economy. And this, the US believes, could convince Tehran that there is no choice but to resolve the crisis diplomatically. The alternative strategy is that America goes through with its plan to conduct military actions against Tehran, along with economic sanctions to prevent Tehran from building nuclear weapons. Reportedly, the Trump administration is split on the issue. As per the WSJ report, some within the Trump administration believing a credible military threat could force Iran back to negotiations. Others, meanwhile, fearing that any strike, even a limited one, could spiral into a broader war. Iran has on multiple occasions denied pursuing any programs towards the establishment of nuclear weapons, insisting its nuclear program serves civilian purposes like energy and medical research. However, the International Atomic Energy Agency and Western intelligence agencies disagree. They reportedly point to Iran's enrichment of uranium to near weapons-grade levels and its research into advanced centrifuges as evidence of its ambitions. Iranian officials have warned, in fact, that any attack on their facilities would result in severe retaliation, including expelling UN inspectors and abandoning the non-proliferation treaty and targeting US and Israeli assets in the region. While Israel and the US prepare for potential strikes, many analysts caution against the unpredictable consequences. Iran's nuclear facilities, you see, are reportedly heavily fortified, with some buried deep beneath mountains. Even with advanced weaponry, fully neutralizing Iran's capabilities in one strike would be challenging. Any attack risks provoking a fierce Iranian response, after all, potentially dragging the region and perhaps the world into a broader conflict. Moreover, there are also global economic implications to consider, of course. Iran's location near vital oil shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz means that any military conflict could disrupt global energy supplies, spiking prices and destabilizing markets. While some people within the US administration are more inclined towards a diplomatic solution, for Israel, diplomacy is reportedly less appealing. Israeli officials reportedly believe time is running out as Iran edges closer to a nuclear breakout and are in favor of conducting preemptive strikes to neutralize potential nuclear threats. The convergence of US and Israeli interests in Iran's nuclear program may have a long-standing impact on West Asia's geopolitics. Both countries see an opportunity to act, but the stakes are incredibly high. Will diplomacy prevail is the question, or are we on the brink of another devastating conflict in West Asia? Meanwhile, our next story is about how Iran is recruiting Israelis to work as spies. Let's just say that again. Iran is recruiting Israelis to spy for them. This development is reportedly shaking Israel to its core, exposing a dangerous web of espionage. You see, Israel recently reportedly arrested nearly 30 individuals, mostly Jewish citizens, accused of spying for Iran. These suspects operated in 9 covert cells, making this Tehran's most aggressive infiltration attempt in decades. The Shin Bet, Israel's internal security agency, revealed several details. Alleged plots included assassinating an Israeli nuclear scientist and former military officials. One group even gathered intelligence on military bases and air defenses. These activities highlight a significant shift in Iran's espionage tactics. In one case, a father and son from a Druze village allegedly passed sensitive details about Israeli force movements, including in the Golan Heights. Arrests like these reportedly follow 2 years of efforts by Iranian operatives to recruit ordinary Israelis. Their method? Quite straightforward, offering money to carry out attacks and collect intelligence. Now, unlike the high-profile Israeli spies for Tehran of previous decades, like a high-profile businessman and a former cabinet minister, these new recruits come from society's fringes. The group includes recent immigrants, an army deserter, and a convicted sex offender. Some of their tasks seemed minor, like vandalizing property with anti-government graffiti. But the scale of involvement, especially among Jewish citizens, has reportedly sparked a national alarm across Israel. The Shin Bet has labeled these espionage activities as some of the most severe in Israel's history. Tehran's reach does not stop at Israel's borders. Iranian agents have reportedly orchestrated hits and kidnappings across Europe and America. Israeli security forces recently decided to publicize these plots, reportedly aiming to send a message to Iran and potential spies that they can be caught. So how exactly does Iran manage Israelis to spy for them? Reportedly, Iranian intelligence agencies often use social media platforms to find recruits. In one case, a civilian received a message reportedly offering $15,000 for information, complete with a contact, email and phone number. Iran has also reportedly approached expatriate Jewish networks in Canada and America, targeting individuals with ties to Israel. The recruitment process reportedly starts with mediocre tasks. Initial tasks appear harmless and come with monetary rewards. But over time, handlers escalate demands requesting detailed intelligence on military targets or specific individuals, and then they use blackmail to enforce compliance. One accused spy reportedly admitted to communicating with Iranian operatives through Telegram, underscoring the growing sophistication of Iran's infiltration efforts. Our next story is about China's spy games, the latest episode revolving around Prince Andrew. A Chinese businessman who had reportedly forged close ties with Prince Andrew and was authorized to act on his behalf to seek investors in China has been reportedly banned from Britain on national security grounds. So, what's really going on here? What do we know about the man? He is reportedly 50 years old. He has been granted anonymity and is named only as H6. What else is also known is that he was reportedly taken off a flight from Beijing to London in February 2023 and told that Britain intended to ban him from the country. This happened the following month. H6 appealed against the ban at the Special Immigration Appeals Commission, which reportedly rejected his case in a written ruling on Thursday. And that's when the first time the alleged relationship has come to light. As per the ruling, the ban on the Chinese businessman came after the contents of his phone were downloaded when he was stopped under counter-terrorism laws at a UK border in 2021. It reportedly said that this revealed Prince Andrew had authorized him to set up an international financial initiative to engage with potential partners and investors in China. The ruling did not say what the fund was intended for. Not just that, there's more. The ruling reportedly stated that documents on his phone suggested H6 had deliberately obscured his links with the Chinese Communist Party and the United Front Work Department and been in a position to generate relationships between prominent UK figures and senior Chinese officials, which Beijing could leverage. So how exactly has China reacted? How is it viewing these developments? In a statement, the Chinese embassy in London said some people in Britain were keen on making up all kinds of spy stories against China. As per the statement, quote unquote, their purpose is to smear China and sabotage normal people-to-people exchanges between China and the UK. We strongly condemn this, quote unquote. Let's just take a step back at this point here. This is the latest alleged infiltration by Chinese espionage. In fact, look at the kind of incidents that have come to light. You remember Alice Gu? Someone who won the 2022 mayoral elections in Bamban in the Philippines. The independent candidate, in fact, reportedly became a popular mayor and rising political star. Alice Gu is in police custody, accused of cybercrimes and being a Chinese spy whose mayoral campaign was allegedly organized by Chinese state officials. She has pled not guilty. The list is long. A secret Chinese police station hiding in plain sight in New York City. Alleged clandestine efforts by Communist Party operatives to spy on Chinese expatriates. There was also the arrest of a former aide to New York governors. Basically charges that a former aide to two New York governors was secretly acting as an agent of the Chinese government that sent shockwaves around the world naturally. Did China manage to lure and trap Prince Andrew in its spy ring? Shifting focus for now, the new partition of Syria has opened a Pandora's box. As rebels and foreign powers fight for control over Syria, the fall of the Assad regime has triggered a whole new race to find missing chemical weapons. The Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, the International Chemical Weapons Watchdog, which convened an emergency meeting, says the agency was prepared to send teams to Syria. Our next report telling you how stability and unity continue to be the biggest challenges for Syria.
Syria stands at a pivotal crossroads after the dramatic fall of Bashar al-Assad. The rebel groups and foreign powers are vying for control and influence. Apart from the dominant Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or HTS in northwest Syria, there are Turkish-backed rebels and Sunni Muslim rebels in the north, Kurds ruling over much of Syria's east, and Jordan-backed rebels in the south. These groups fought a civil war against Assad for almost 14 years, and now they contend to shape the country's future without him. As the political chaos unfolds in Syria, Israel appears to be taking advantage of what it sees as a unique moment of opportunity. From raining strikes on strategic Syrian military assets and air defenses, to ordering its troops to remain the demilitarized buffer zone on the Golan Heights throughout the winter, Israel is leaving no stone unturned to stop Syria falling into the hands of rebels. It has blamed Iran for triggering regional tensions. Control over the Syrian oil fields is adding another layer of complexity to the ever-evolving Syria. HTS claims control over the eastern city of Deir ez-Zor after a fierce battle with Syrian Kurds backed by the US forces. The eastern region is the biggest source of crude oil. The conflict between Kurdish-led SDF and HTS rebels is centered around the control of Al-Taim oil fields in Deir ez-Zor region, where 5,000 barrels of crude oil are extracted daily. The collapse of Assad regime has triggered the race to find missing chemical weapons. The Assad government reportedly made tons of chemical weapons, from giant vats of World War I era mustard gas to nerve agents so deadly that just a few drops could kill. But the Syrian weapons of mass destruction have simply disappeared. What happened to those chemicals is a suddenly urgent question in the wake of last week's takeover by Syrian rebels. In a country with no governing authority, securing whatever chemicals remain becomes a top priority not only for Syria's neighbors but also for countries around the world. Syria faces a major task of uniting diverse factions and forming a stable government. Can Syrian rebels put up a united front remains a big question. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Chess has a new king. India's D. Gukesh dethroned China's Ding Liren to become the youngest chess world champion in history. It's a truly seminal achievement by the 18-year-old, whose genius has inspired millions, not just across India, but around the world. But some are trying to belittle his triumph by making baseless accusations. But let's first give you a sense of the magnitude of Gukesh's victory, what he has achieved. It's remarkable, outstanding. At the tender age of 11, he declared that it is his goal to become the youngest ever world champion. His words would turn prophetic, as just 7 years later, he would realize his dream only 7 years later. A blunder by China's Ding Liren allowed Gukesh to win Game 14 of the series. The Indian teenager, in fact, took full advantage to seal a historic victory. After 3 weeks and over 14 intense matches, Gukesh finally let his guard down. He could not hold back his emotions and broke down after the win was confirmed.
I've been dreaming about living this moment for more than 10 years, and every chess player wants to experience this moment, and very few get the chance, and to be one of them it can only I think the only way to explain is that I'm just living my dream.
Gukesh is the youngest world champion ever, and it's not even close. He is 4 years junior to the great Garry Kasparov, who was 22 when he won his first world title in 1985. Gukesh has broken multiple records and has rightly earned the plaudits of the entire chess world. Gukesh celebrated his world championship in style earlier today, showing off his trophy in Singapore, and even shared an emotional moment with his parents. Gukesh becomes just the second Indian to win the World Chess Championship after Vishwanathan Anand, who is also his mentor, by the way. And it is fitting that it's another boy from Chennai who has brought the title back to India. While Gukesh has won the admiration of most in the sporting world, naturally, it seems not everyone has been able to digest his victory. Why is that being said? Russian Chess Federation chief Andrei Filatov has accused Ding Liren of deliberately losing Game 14 of the World Championship. Filatov, in fact, expressed doubts over Ding Liren's performance. Here's exactly what he said. I'm quoting. "Losing from the position Ding Liren was in is difficult even for a first-class player. The defeat of the Chinese chess player in today's game raises a lot of questions and looks like a deliberate one," quote unquote. Rather than calling Ding Liren's error what it was, a genuine blunder, Filatov accused Ding of cheating and even went on to demand an investigation into the matter by the World Chess Body without any evidence whatsoever. Can you believe that? Not only is that a shameless attempt to discredit the undisputed world chess champion, it also raises question marks over the integrity of Ding Liren, who himself is a world champion. Despite such shameful attempts to degrade Gukesh, the 18-year-old has etched his name firmly in history, and nothing can change that. Shifting focus for now, Nepal's government is firmly blocking China's attempt to send its Panchen Lama, Gensen Norbu, to Kathmandu. Nepal's rejection of the visit marks one of the most significant diplomatic setbacks for China in influencing the Tibetan diaspora. In fact, Norbu has not been recognized by the 14th Dalai Lama, and several Western countries consider his appointment illegitimate. Nepal has reportedly conveyed to the Chinese embassy that the Panchen Lama will not be welcomed due to Nepal's neutrality on religious matters, quote unquote. But why does China wish to send Norbu in the first place? The Communist Party of China had handpicked Panchen Lama to become the so-called spiritual successor of the 14th Dalai Lama living in exile in India. He was expected to visit Nepal to attend the ongoing Nanhai Buddhism Roundtable in Lumbini, the birthplace of Lord Buddha. Officials and monks from around 20 countries are attending the event. By showcasing the Chinese-appointed Panchen Lama on an international stage, China seeks to legitimize his authority. But by accepting China's plan, Nepal does not want to get embroiled in a broader geopolitical battle between the US and China. Nepal's sensitivities in the matter stemming from its significant Tibetan refugee population, besides concerns about China's growing influence. Hosting the Dalai Lama, Tibet's spiritual leader, is a red line for Nepal. The Panchen Lama holds a pivotal role in Tibetan Buddhism, particularly in the selection of the next Dalai Lama. By advancing Norbu, Beijing aims to assert control over this process, thereby diminishing the Dalai Lama's influence and reinforcing its dominance over Tibetan Buddhism. Significantly, the 89-year-old Dalai Lama has consistently upheld his right to decide his own reincarnation. Nepalese officials say that Norbu has been attempting to visit the Himalayan country for over a decade. His present visit attempt follows Nepal Prime Minister's recent trip to China, during which a new framework agreement on the Belt and Road Initiative was signed. Nepal thus finds itself at the crossroads of balancing competing interests while maintaining its sovereignty and adhering to its commitments under the One China policy. The Panchen Lama controversy underscores the broader geopolitical tensions at play in the region. Shifting focus for now to the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia has launched a major drone and missile attack on Ukraine. In the latest, in fact, Moscow fired over 90 missiles and nearly 200 drones in one of its largest wartime attacks on Ukraine's energy system. Kiev residents rushed to take shelter as Russia launched one of its biggest wartime attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Ukraine's energy system has already suffered 11 waves of attacks this year, which have caused widespread damage and lengthy power cuts all over the country.
Of course, I would rather be going to work and have my child to go to school now. But as you can see yourself, air raid alert was issued and we had to go to the shelter to hide from missiles.
Russia's defense ministry has said that its eastern grouping of forces has seized over 300 square kilometers in Ukraine over the past month and captured 7 settlements. As Ukraine continues to fight the ongoing Russian offensive, the NATO chief has warned that the alliance is not ready for the threats it faces from Russia. Mark Rutte has raised an alarm over the low defense spending of European countries, stressing that it is time to shift to a wartime mindset. At an address on Thursday, Rutte said that future spending of the alliance would have to be much higher than the current target of 2%. The NATO General Secretary highlighted basically that the West was falling far behind Russia and China with respect to military capabilities.
The security situation does not look good. It's undoubtedly the worst in my lifetime, and I suspect in yours too. We are not ready for what is coming our way in 4 to 5 years. Danger is moving towards us at full speed. We must not look the other way. We must face it. What is happening in Ukraine could happen here too. And regardless of the outcome of this war, we will not be safe in the future unless we are prepared to deal with danger.
Rutte's message coming just weeks before Donald Trump takes oath as the next U.S. president in January. Trump, remember, has repeatedly warned that the U.S. will withdraw from NATO if the military allies do not increase their share of defense spending. Washington is also racing to bolster Kiev's defenses before Trump takes office. The United States, in fact, has announced a new $500 million package of military aid for Ukraine. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made the announcement of a significant package of urgently needed weapons and equipment. As of December 2nd, Washington had provided approximately $61.4 billion to Kiev in military assistance since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. With this addition of $500 million, that number is now up to $61.9 billion. That's close to $62 billion provided to Ukraine over a span of less than 3 years. Dozens of drone sightings in New Jersey skies have stirred a lot of unease among lawmakers, residents, and local officials in the U.S. who remain frustrated over the lack of answers. The mysterious drones haunting America, the sheer volume of reports, nearly 50 in one night, according to the governor, Philip D. Murphy, has left the public grappling with uncertainty despite federal reassurances. Since mid-November, drones have been reported across 10 New Jersey counties and parts of New York City, leading the Federal Aviation Administration to impose temporary no-fly zones over sensitive areas. Security personnel at the Picatinny Arsenal alone reported 11 drone sightings in just over a month. However, some say that this surge in drone activity was unrelated to military operations. Despite the alarm, federal officials seem intent on quelling the fears. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby stated that federal investigations had not corroborated any of the reported sightings.
The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully.
Kirby added that sophisticated analysis and detection technologies provided by federal authorities had not identified any unauthorized drones. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security continue to investigate but maintain that the sightings do not pose a public safety threat. That being said, residents remain unconvinced. Social media groups dedicated to the sightings have exploded with activity, with thousands of posts and theories. State and local officials, in fact, echoing these concerns. John Bramnick, a state senator, called for a temporary ban on all drone flights in New Jersey, labeling the situation a potential security risk. Despite federal assurances, the rash of drone sightings continues to unsettle communities. Efforts to track the drones with helicopters have been hindered by safety concerns, according to officials, with no concrete answers. The drone mystery remains an open question. Federal and local authorities are under mounting pressure to determine the source of these sightings and address growing public fears. On to India now, where the arrest of actor Allu Arjun has been making headlines. He was sent to 14-day judicial custody. He has now been granted interim bail. Allu Arjun was arrested earlier today in connection with an incident that took place at Sandhya Theatre during the release of his latest movie, Pushpa 2, The Rule. The arrest was made after the Telugu star was brought to the police station for questioning. A local court in Hyderabad remanded the actor to judicial custody, and later the Telangana High Court granted him interim bail. For the uninitiated, a woman lost her life when a stampede incident took place at the screening of the recently released movie. Massive crowds had gathered to catch a glimpse of the film star, who was present at the event along with music director Devi Sri Prasad. Early this month, the commotion led to the theatre's main gate collapsing, which resulted in a stampede. A 35-year-old woman died in the stampede, and her 9-year-old son sustained injuries. An FIR was registered against the Pushpa actor, who later filed a petition and refuted his involvement in the incident. The actor asserted that his presence at the screening could not be deemed criminal. In the plea, the actor requested for a stay on all further proceedings. The police, however, alleged that the film star reached at the premiere without informing them. Allu Arjun, along with his security team and Sandhya Theatre's management, now facing charges of culpable homicide not amounting to murder under BNS Section 105 and voluntarily causing hurt. The Telugu actor had earlier reacted to the tragic incident and said that he was deeply heartbroken. As per reports, the husband of the deceased woman has said that he is willing to withdraw the case and he does not hold the actor responsible for the stampede or his wife's death. Meanwhile, in a statement to the media, Telangana Chief Minister emphasized that the law will take its due course and said that nobody will interfere in the investigation of the case. Among the celebrities who have reacted to Allu Arjun's arrest, Rashmika Mandanna, who played his love interest in the Pushpa franchise, showed her support to the actor on social media. She wrote, and I'm quoting, "I can't believe what I am seeing right now. The incident that happened was an unfortunate and deeply saddening incident. However, it is disheartening to see everything being blamed on a single individual. This situation is both unbelievable and heartbreaking," quote unquote. Varun Dhawan also expressed his support for the actor. Dhawan, who is currently in Jaipur to promote his upcoming film, said, and I'm quoting, "There are safety protocols. An actor cannot take everything upon himself," quote unquote. Dhawan also added that one cannot blame just one person for the incident. Crimes against journalists are increasing. An annual report by Reporters Without Borders provides a rather grim picture of the state of affairs. It says 54 journalists were killed on the job or in connection with their work, while over 1,700 were killed in the past 20 years. It also stated that the Israeli armed forces were responsible for a third of the journalists killed in 2024. The report found Gaza the most dangerous region in the world for journalists. This year, 18 journalists, quote unquote, perished under the bombs of Israeli armed forces, while more than 145 journalists were killed by the Israeli army since October 2023, as per the report. The report said Israel is one of the world's top 5 prisons for journalists, quote unquote. The organization filed 4 complaints with the International Criminal Court for the war crimes committed against journalists by the Israeli army, quote unquote. In a separate report published Tuesday, the International Federation of Journalists said that 104 journalists were killed worldwide in 2024, with more than half of them in Gaza. The IFJ and RSF figures vary because of different methodologies used to calculate the tolls, but the IFJ used similar language to condemn Israel's military. As per the IFJ, the war in Gaza and Lebanon once again highlighting the violence suffered by Palestinian, Lebanese and Syrian media professionals, representing 60% of all journalists killed in 2024. Israel has repeatedly denied that it intentionally harms journalists, but admits that some have been killed in airstrikes on military targets. RSF only records journalist deaths in its report if they have been proven to be directly related to their professional activity. Besides the 16 deaths in Gaza, the deadliest countries for journalists in 2024 were Pakistan with 7 deaths, followed by Bangladesh and Mexico with 5 each. In 2023, the number of journalists killed worldwide stood at 45 in the same January to December period. In today's digital age, being safe in the online world is as important as being safe in the offline world. With cybercrime-related incidents witnessing an unprecedented rise across the world, staying informed and alert is absolutely crucial to protect yourself from cyber threats. This year, digital arrest scams claimed a lot of victims. In India, the state of Karnataka witnessed the highest number of these digital arrest scams in the country. The Home Minister of Karnataka, in fact, said the state accounts for over 25% digital arrest scams across India. As per reports, India reported 42,000 cybercrime cases and 11,000 of them were in Karnataka. The state police have recovered 9 crore rupees, that's 8.25% of the total amount, and have arrested 27 individuals linked to the crimes. Additionally, in 2024, the state lost around 109 crore rupees, that is approximately $12.3 million to digital crimes alone. Bengaluru recorded 480 cybercrime cases, the highest in the state, resulting in a total loss of 42 crore or $4.9 million. The state capital is followed by smaller districts like Mysuru with 24 cases, Bengaluru with 21. Digital arrest scams typically involve fraudsters impersonating law enforcement officials. The aim basically is to deceive the victims into transferring large sums of money. The name digital arrest comes from the fact that naive victims are intimidated and forced to self-arrest or self-quarantine themselves. In certain situations, victims are coerced into being visible on video calls until the demands are met. So here's what you can do to protect yourself from falling victim to such scams. Firstly, always verify the caller's identity before taking any action. Be suspicious if the person on the call demands immediate payment or sensitive information. Avoid sharing personal or financial information over the phone unless you are absolutely certain about the caller's identity. Third, beware of requests for immediate payments on unsolicited video calls. Also, use the cybercrime website to report any suspicious calls, messages, or identities. Last but not the least, stay updated with advisories issued by the government regarding new scam tactics and preventive measures. Remember, the best way to safeguard your savings is to be cautious and aware of potential scams. Are you fond of sandwiches? How often do you have them? And more importantly, how do you like to eat them? Sandwiches are among the most popular food items across the world. They are fairly easy to make, can even be customized as per one's taste and liking. However, it seems that there are some who may not be a fan of them all that much. In the UK, this has kicked off a rather heated debate. Why is that? Kemi Badenoch saying that sandwiches are not real food. The Conservative Party leader also claiming that sandwiches are supposed to be taken for breakfast. This has apparently not gone down well with many. And now in response, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has hailed the sandwich as a great British institution. Let's just tell you more about what's happening. On Thursday, in an interview with The Spectator, a weekly British magazine, the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, made some rather controversial remarks about sandwiches. Controversial because they have ignited a major controversy. What exactly did she say? She revealed that she brings in food to the office and eats while getting on with her work because there is no time. Not just that, Badenoch also reportedly said that she would not touch bread if it's moist. She added that sometimes she would get a steak and that she is not a sandwich person. However, this is not the first time she has made such a claim. As per reports, Badenoch had made clear her distaste for bread-based snacks earlier as well. But this time around, it seems to have become a flashpoint. Badenoch's comments have triggered a response from the UK Prime Minister's office. According to reports, Starmer's official spokesperson weighed in and said that the Prime Minister was surprised to hear that steak was Badenoch's choice for lunch. What's more, the spokesperson also said that Starmer preferred a cheese toastie instead. Commenting further on the Prime Minister's food choices, Starmer's spokesperson said that Starmer is in fact quite happy with the sandwich lunch. When asked about what the Prime Minister's favorite sandwich was, the spokesperson added that the Prime Minister enjoys a tuna sandwich and occasionally a cheese toastie. And this has now reportedly triggered a war of words between the two leaders, Badenoch and Starmer. Taking to social media, Badenoch has hit back, saying that the Prime Minister has time to respond to my jokes about lunch, but no time for the farmers who produce our food, quote unquote. Who knew, out of all things, a humble sandwich could inspire such a showdown and such a clash between the two leaders? The Sistine Chapel is a must on any visit to that part of the world. After all, it is one of the greatest works of art in the history of humankind. It's a portrait of faith and Christianity in the heart of Vatican. What do you see when you're there? Of course, among the glorious art is a 14th century masterpiece frescoed on the altar wall of the prestigious Sistine Chapel. Take a moment to look, to ponder, to think, to admire. Do you spot something unusual? Or rather, someone unusual? More specifically, a blonde woman amid a sea of men. Well, an Italian art restorer now suggests that the mysterious figure in the celebrated artwork is none other than Mary Magdalene. Who is Mary Magdalene? Well, she is controversial. History has it that she has watched Jesus Christ die on the cross. What's more, her name is in the Bible, but mysteries about her and interpretations of the role that she played in the life of Jesus Christ swirl around in popular bestsellers. The church has frowned upon stories that link her with the divine prophet. What did Michelangelo think? Have a look at the visuals on your screen. That's the celebrated artwork, The Last Judgment, by the immortal Italian artist Michelangelo. What you see basically is 300 tangled figures frescoed on the altar wall of the chapel. Do you spot a woman among them, half hidden behind a crucifix? Well, according to Sara Penco, an Italian art restorer, her research shows that that woman is suspected to be Mary Magdalene. For long, art experts have tried and failed to identify her until now. On Tuesday, speaking to the press in Rome, Penco said that she is firmly convinced of her finding. And how did she arrive at that? According to Penco, it is the color of the dress and the flowing blonde hair that indicated that the figure might be that of Magdalene's, but more so because of her placement, which is depicted to be right next to a cross said to be held by Jesus himself, and the historical context of it all. But why is this remarkable? You see, according to Penco, who specializes in Renaissance and Baroque art, Michelangelo was someone who knew the dynamics of the church very well. He knew the Gospels and he could not have forgotten her, quote unquote. What's more, Penco even plans to elaborate on her findings in her forthcoming 240-page book titled Mary Magdalene in Michelangelo's Judgment. Now, back to that question, who is Mary Magdalene? You see, in the Bible, reportedly, she was a woman from Magdala, a small town known for its fishing. According to the Gospels, Mary was one of Christ's loyal disciples who accompanied him as he spread his message. Someone who has reportedly stayed with Christ till his very end, even during his crucifixion, which is how he had been put to death. What's more, reports suggest, once portrayed as a controversial figure, Magdalene is now widely regarded as a saint by Catholic and other Christian faiths. However, to many, her full truth remains a mystery. And now, Penco's research conducted in consultation with various studies by scholars and theologians, attempts to shed new light on this mysterious figure and her role in Christianity. This is significant. You see, it took Michelangelo 4 long years to complete this artwork in the Sistine Chapel, which attracts millions of tourists every year. And not just Michelangelo. Mary Magdalene also gets featured in several of an Italian artist's paintings, which are among those that define the Renaissance era, a period of cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth in Europe. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good weekend.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points.